Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today, it is time to take on what a lot of people would consider the hardest Tempered Edge stage in the game, for multiple reasons. One, because, we have Toa, and we have Benimaru, and we have Hero. Pretty good units. It still is not enough to save the current fire team, because after that you're using units that are 7, 8 months old, and they're just been power crept out of existence. And so, still, if you want to not slam your head against a wall like I did yesterday for almost 4 hours, you're just going to want to wait for the rest of the fire team to come out, because this was hard. And it's hard because of a few things, some of which is stated, and some of which is not. So, this claimant on EX2 has over 500,000 HP. That is by far the most HP any boss, any enemy in the game has ever had to date. Even the water the water stacking stages and the space stacking stages, and even the latest dark one for Tempered Edge, did not have 500,000. So, you have to do a lot of damage. And he's got 11,000 defense, which makes him relatively tanky. So, that's why. He's got a lot of health, he's got a lot of defense. The fire team is still not quite up to par yet. It's coming along, but it's not quite there. And then, he buffs himself. This right here, this chance to poison and bind. After hours of testing, it has come to the conclusion that if you do not have burn on Claimant, the new burn effect, either from Benimaru or the free-to-play hero, if you don't have burn on him between going from turn 2 to turn 3, the poison and bind will occur. If you have the burn, it just doesn't happen. And I have tested this with multiple different teams, multiple variations of fire and not fire, and having, certain amounts of fire units and certain amounts of other units, and then it finally came down to just the burn skill. So I put Benimaru on a light team and had burn going for the first 3 turns. Didn't happen. I had Hero on the dark team, burned him turn 2 because it only lasts for 1 turn. Didn't happen. But if you don't have the burn, you're gonna get binded, you're gonna get poisoned, and your day is gonna get a whole lot harder. So please keep that in mind. I promise it is the mechanic. It obviously does not state that here, because normally it'd say chance to poison on targets 100%, dependent on burn status or something, right? That's not here. It's an unspoken shadow nerf, so that's cool. Everyone loves those. And then he also nerfs blues, which, that means you can't bring the old fire team. Well, you can't bring Rimuru, you can't bring the water team, or the space team to nuke him down. And then, at turn 9, going into turn 10, he will heal himself for 30% of his max HP, which, is 521,000. So this mother heals 150k on going into turn 10, and he gives himself an attack buff of 200 and an earth attack buff of 200%, which pretty much means, and it's an AoE attack, mind you, so you're gonna die. Because he's been hitting you the entire time for 9 turns, and then he's gonna bust this out, and it's pretty much like Conquest, Golem, and Orc, where turn 6 he just swipes you with a whole bunch of power and you're all dead. That's essentially what happens. Maybe a unit survives because they haven't been hit the entire time, but then he has another 150,000 HP, and 2 of your units are dead. So it's not really even worth it. So that is what makes him so very difficult. Shout out to my boy in Discard Balls for helping me through this, because I literally was about to flip this table last night trying to beat the stage with the fire team, and it really took someone else to really tell me what he did, because he had beat it and I had not. So I was like, alright, I need assistance now, because this ain't working. Whatever I'm trying to do, it ain't working. So this is the team that we used last night. We've got Toa and Ifrit. We've got Milim with Light Rimuru for the protection trait. So we have sacrificed the 11 points from Earth Milim, but we're going to get technically more out of the first 3 turns from Rimuru. So that's why we did that. And then we've got Hero, Guy. So the combination of Guy and Milim with the ult boost, crit resistance down, and crit rate will be, significant buffs, as much buff as we can for this team. And it's all fire team, that way we can really stack the burn. And then we've got Benimaru and then Gobta in the back. So that's what we do. Yeah, I might actually hyperspace this a little bit. So let's go up to 150% speed. And then we'll start this up. So it took an incredible amount of RNG. And this was not like he came in and helped me in the first time we did it. No, this was about an hour and a half of resetting and attempting and seeing what combinations we use. So turn 1, we're going to bring in Benimaru for the orb change and the burn. That way it still applies on turn 2, so we don't get binded in. So send 6 green. We have a lot of points after this, right? Because we're going to have 77 points, and we have Toa. And we're not really ready to use anything yet, because no one has an ult. But I want to get an ult, using this with Toa normally. Thankfully, it worked out, so we're just going to use the burn again for another 6 orbs of greens, which is going to help out. We're going to have a decent amount of going on, so we're going to be max points. We almost have 2 Toas right there. That's a very, very, very good start. The starts that I normally see is like a 3-2-1 of random stuff, and you use Toa turn 2, and then it's like you're wasting a whole bunch of points, because you're not ready to nuke, so why are you going to buff? Right here, we're actually going to buff up a little bit, because we have so many points that are going to be wasted if we use Toa. So we put the burn on him again, or no, we use the instant damage, and have the orange attack up. We've got Gobta's crit damage up, and then we're going to use Toa, and then we're going to we should be using the crit as well. Yeah, so we have all of that active. So now we'll do decent damage on this turn, and Gobta with his crit buff does a little bit more damage than my 84 Benny, so we're just maximizing it, and then the burn kicks in for a decent amount of damage. And now we have 2 ults, which is good. Definitely, you're going to need at least like 5 or 6 ults that are boosted at least once. At least once. Maybe twice, because you don't have the damage output. He has 500,000 HP, and if you don't have double boosted ults, then you're pretty much just spitting on him. So it really is difficult, and that's why there's so much RNG, because you have 9 turns. You could bring Octagram Guy, so you can stun on turn 9, so he doesn't heal himself and then buff himself. But what that does is that just delays that effect. So you stun him turn 9, cool. You move into turn 10, you have 1 extra turn to do damage to him. If you don't kill him, then when it goes from turn 10 to turn 11, then he heals, and then he buffs, and then you die. So you get 1 extra free turn, but you're sacrificing a single target damage dealer like Gobta or something, because he's probably the most replaceable unit on this team, for an AoE stun, which isn't really going to help you that much. So I really don't recommend bringing Octagram Guy. He is stunnable. You can do it. I'm sure if you just keep stunning him over and over and over and over and over again, maybe that works and you just keep whittling him down. I didn't really want to test that, so we just went with this strategy. So we had enough points now, so we could use everything, right? We've got burn on, we've got the damage boost, we've got the crit, we've got the ult. Literally everything we are throwing right now. And we're doing pretty decent damage. So I wish we had another stack of burn, but we did 23,000 there. And turn 5, this is the best I've ever seen us do, right? He is almost down to red HP. Turn 6, we have another ult. And now we really kind of have to play around with what we want to do, because we need ults to kill him. Because that amount of HP is still like 120k, right? Maybe 100k. Which is not an insignificant amount of health, which means that we're going to need some pretty powerful attacks to knock him down, alongside some burn, because the burn is essentially just another like 200% orb, or it acts as another ult. So we really need to maximize that. So here we're going to start really thinking about what our next play is, because this is both kind of unknown territory, because we had never gotten this close in a run until now. So we've got 5 bennies right there, so it was awesome that we could use Hero's Orb Giveaway to Benimaru, since he has the highest attack stats. So this will help get us an ult for him. It actually, I think, gets us 2 ults. Yeah, it gets us a double ult, which is good right here. Now, the problem is that I want a Milim ult, but a nerfed blue and an orange is not going to do it. So, and we have a double ult Benny, which means we can send an ult here and still have one in reserve. I just want to make sure that we have enough points to do one of the buffs, either the alt buff or the crit buff. Either one of them, because we have a Benny alt, we have a Gobta alt in the back. So I want to make sure that those are buffed some way. So here, we could use the orb change, put burn back on him, which would be pretty good, and send 4 greens and the alt, which is our best option. Or we could send the alt and the nerf blues and just pray we get better RNG the next turn, turn 8. But what we end up actually doing is we end up just using the Milim orbs, because I wanted to get her close to an alt in case we got orbs for her, of which we got none. So that was awesome. It was a great choice, but it got one of the nerf blues out of here. So now, what we can do is now we can put the burn on, because as it stands right here, we're not going to get Toa online for next turn. Turn 9 is like the end game. But if I use the orb change, and I have Guy for his 3-turn protection trait, right? So on turn 9, he's going to give us some. We're going to use the orb change here for full greens, which will not get us the protection gauge unless I use Benimaru's ult. Maybe I would have. Maybe it would have been just a hair over, or it would have been a hair under. But it was really important that we would get Toa. So we're going to send the Benimaru ult as is. And I kind of fuck up, because I should have sent the Benny ult first, because it would have lowered his defense and the follow-up attacks would have done a little bit more damage. But it ended up working out. So now, this is the final turn. We have Gobta's ult in the back. We have Toa ready to go. We have 62 points, which means we have 102 points to work with, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, because we've used all the skills multiple times. So everything costs a lot more. So I can put the burn on, but I don't have enough for the crit. So we could do a double stack of burn. Maybe it would help, but I'd rather crit buff or alt buff. Either way, Milim's crit buff is at 95 cost right now. So if I wanted to use that, that is literally the only thing I could use. And even if I wanted to use the alt buff, I don't have enough points to do anything else, right? I'd be like 3 points shy of having enough. Or I'd be 8 points shy of having enough, because 75 and 35 or something. That's 110. Yeah, I just don't have it. So, we're going to skip ahead because I sit here for a while. Okay, so we have swapped Gobta in for Hero now. We have 3 greens, 1 Gobta alt. We have not used Toa yet, but we can use Toa, which will get us a 6-hand of oranges, right? So at least we can get a 200% orb. And now, we need to decide whether we want to use Guy's alt buff or Milim's crit buff, which we go with Milim's crit buff, because that will do more damage overall, because the alt buff will affect the alt, yeah, but then the normal orbs won't get anything. So I want to make sure that every single hit that we do is a crit, including the alt. So 95 points down the drain right there. We have 5 left over, nothing we can do, and we're gonna pray that this kills right here. So 22,000, and the final 200% orb does end up killing right there. So thank God. Had he survived that, he would have healed for 151k, and he would have killed pretty much our entire front line. So the amount of RNG that is required to actually beat it with the current team as is incredible. It's gonna be pain. And I had to make Awakened Claws for both Gobta and Milim. It's a lot of resources went into this run to make sure I had the DPS for it. It was not a fun time. So again, thank you, Balls, for helping me out. I know it's a funny name, but that's what he called himself in Discord, so that's what I got. So that takes care of the all fire, all physical mission. No one dying. Heroes on the team. 3 attack skills. So now, essentially, the only mission left that we have is clear it with 2 4-star units, which there's a much, much, much easier team that we can use to do said thing. So let's check that out. Voila, the Dark Team. Oh my god, what a surprise. The Dark Team's good, right? Veldora, 70% magic buff, resetting skill costs. We've got Hero, because he's a 4-star unit, and he's got the burn, which means on turn 2, we can burn and we can avoid the bind and poison Isis, the other 4-star unit, really essential for the Dark team, and then Milim, Shinsha, Rimuru. So, I mean, apart from Hero having to burn turn 2, it's, you know, business as usual with the Dark team. So I'm going to get this run going. I'll show you turn 2 where the burn is there, and I'll show you when it isn't there, and I'll show you the proof, and then we'll go to the nuke, because we know how the Dark team runs, right? So we'll be back in a second. Alright, well, we get really lucky. I sent the first 2 oranges by themselves, and we ended up with a full hand of greens. So we're gonna burn here, and we're gonna boost here with the greens. So the burn, again, is important. Actually, no, we're not gonna burn. We're just gonna boost with greens, and I'll show you that the poison and bind takes over. So we'll pop, 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 pop. So we'll do the 6 orb send, and then we're gonna get binded in. And it's gonna be really unfortunate and really sad, because the bind lasts for 6 turns, which means you're gonna die. Alright. So there's the poison, there's the bind. Let's come back and apply the burn on turn 2, and then see that we don't get binded and we don't get poisoned. Alright, not quite as lucky with the full hand of green, but we can still orb change out of it. So let's use Milim, and then let's use the burn now that we're on turn 2. It lasts for 1 turn. So we're going to do this. We're going to have a full hand of greens. They're not boosted, unfortunately, because I don't have enough points, but, you know, you got to make do with what you got. So here, another full hand of greens, but we've got the burn active, and after this turn is over, you will see that no poison and no bind. We're now on turn 3, and nothing bad has happened. So there's your proof that in order to avoid the poison and bind, you need to have the burn active. Otherwise, you know, after that, you send Hero to the back and you never worry about him again, because he has no purpose here, right? So now it's just stack on stack on stack on stack, use skills, and then get an ult with Milim, an ult with Rimuru, and an ult with Shinsha. You don't really need an ult with Rimuru, but you need an ult with Shinsha and Milim to be guaranteed. So I'll bring you back when we're ready to nuke, and I'll show you how things have gone. Alright, so turn 8, we're ready to go. We should be... oh, we need 2 more skills, but we'll use the skills now. So we'll do the ult buff, we'll use the dark buff, that's at 70%, we'll use the crit buff. Unfortunately, we have no orbs for Rimuru, which is pretty unfortunate. We had a double ult because we actually yoinked Clayman's ult on turn 5, or turn 6, whatever that was. So, I mean, that's just avoiding damage right there. Thankfully, we had enough to get back. So now we're at 70% magic buff, so we're going to use that. We're going to send Shinsha's ult first because she does lower crit resistance by 5%, which means that Milim will hit even harder after that. And so we'll do that, and then we'll send these Milims, and then we'll be all hunky-dory, probably. So Shinsha does 141k, Milim does 216, and then this orb does not kill. He leaves him at 1 HP, but now we can just, you know, what does that leave him at, actually? 579. If we had one more orb, we could have done it, but oh well. So now we're just going to ult with Rimuru, and now it's done. You know, that's why you might need more ults than that. Yeah, 9,000 damage versus his potential of like 114 that I did last night. So there you go. If you want to just beat it and have at least the 4-star clear and everyone alive and under 9 turns and all the other under something missions, just use the Dark Team, bring Hero. He's literally there for 1 turn, and then you don't have to worry about him. He could be level 1 for all you care about. So there we go. There's beating it after bashing my head into a wall with the Fire Team, and the much easier but not fire mission focused Dark Team. So hopefully this helps you out. We are, you know, slated to get EX3, 4, and 5 for this stage, so I can't wait to just slit my own wrists on that. But, you know, hopefully the rest of the Fire Team will make it a little easier. That's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you later.